In today's video, let's visit Hell on Earth and ride the fastest roller coaster to date. But first, let's experience one of the very few interactive amusement park rides in the world today. The SkyRoller. Up till now, most amusement park rides are a mostly passive experience, even with the most thrilling ones. Ride manufacturers implement a whole lot of movement into their rides, just to give the rider the thrill that they're looking for. German ride manufacturer SkyRoller had a different idea though. They wanted the ride to be more interactive, giving the rider a choice to just go along for the ride or make his or her experience the more thrilling as possible. Enter in the SkyRoller. In this ride, up to 24 riders sit in seats that look like miniature planes. These planes are then attached to a central hub which lifts the planes up and spins them around. Sounds pretty good, but here's where the interactivity comes in. You see, each mini-plane's wings actually swivel, and the rider has complete control over them. Swiveling the wings allows the rider to sway from left to right, or even do a barrel roll. In other words, riders will be able to create their own adventure, either run through the ride in relative stability, or do barrel rolls for the entire duration of the ride. Fair warning though, those who choose the latter might lose their lunches after the ride. The Market Theater Gun Wall. The US is chock full of roadside attractions, all which harken to the pre-internet days where people actually have to get out of their homes to amuse themselves. Yeah, terrible time, I agree. We'll visit a few of them through the course of this video, but let's begin with probably the more disgusting one. A hidden work of art in Seattle that is basically a wall studded with decades-old gum. Down an unassuming alleyway in Pike Place Market is the Gum Wall, and it's exactly what its name implies. The Gum Wall started in the 1990s when local patrons and performers at Unexpected Productions stuck their used gum on the wall. Since those days, the wall has grown piece by piece to cover an enormous expanse of brick and continues to expand to this very day. It's now at least 50 feet long, actually. At first glance, the eccentric colors of the wall may really attract people, much to the dismay of the queasy. It's been cleaned once, back in 2015, and around 2,350 pounds of chewed up gum was removed. However, once the cleaning was done, visitors quickly began adding gum to the wall again. If you visit today, you might never guess the wall was cleaned at all. The X-Scream. Take a teeter-totter, pump it full of steroids, and hang it 27 feet off the ledge off at the top of a building 866 feet tall. That's basically what the X-Scream is. Perched right on top of the Strat Skypod in Las Vegas, Nevada, X-Scream is the third highest amusement ride, but to some people it ranks number 1 on sheer terror. The ride basically consists of a 68-foot-long track very similar to that of a conventional roller coaster. But unlike conventional roller coasters, it's only long enough to fit one car, which would just fit 8 people. Riders also wouldn't be just rolling in one direction. The track itself is attached to a pivot and would rock back and forward in a seesaw motion. This allows the car to roll backwards and forwards, only braking when riders already have the sensation of the ride falling over. The ride is also programmed in such a way that the seesaw motion is done completely at random, catching the riders unaware, adding to the feeling that they're about to fall off the building. The Rumah Terbalik Upside Down House. Sabah is already an interesting place to visit that's full of interesting places to visit and attractions. One visit simply isn't enough to see it all, honestly. If you're visiting for the first time, make sure you visit the Topsy-Turvy House, which is the first in Asia, and one of only a few around the world. Rumah Terbalik translates literally to upside down house, and its builders definitely saw to it that everything inside and outside of it was completely upside down. It basically follows the design of a traditional Sabah kampong house that is fully equipped with a kitchen, a living room, a toilet, and even a veranda. All upside down, of course. Heck, it even has a carport, and the car parked inside is also upside down. Parked on the ceiling rather than the floor, which certainly is a fun introduction to the venue, if not nerve-wracking. Also the perfect spot for the quirky Instagrammable photo. The SpinDizzy. You got a soft spot in your heart for heavy machinery, Diggerland will be perfect for you. These parks are so named because they're basically themed after diggers or excavators for us in the US, and other heavy construction equipment. They're also quite popular, and there are 3 locations in the UK. Arguably, the most popular ride in the park is the one called the SpinDizzy, not to be confused with the UK record label with the same name. It's basically a digger that spins around and round while people are strapped into a supersized digger bucket. It may look simple, but this ride is definitely not for the faint of heart. Hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people have lost lunches because of this ride. And in that sense, SpinDizzy definitely lives up to its name. Oh, and just in case you're wondering, the digger here is a converted Komatsu PC210LC. Prada Marfa. You're never going to see anything more out of place than Prada Marfa, but what exactly is it? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is a Prada boutique right in the middle of nowhere, right at the edge of a lonely highway in Texas. Well, more of a replica Prada boutique, which is more like an art installation really, created by Scandinavian artists Michael Elmgreen and Ingar Dragset. They actually wanted the installation to degrade in time and not be repaired at all. They never expected the place to be a massive tourist draw, mostly because of the attention it garnered from people on social media. Ironically, what could be interpreted as criticism of consumerism, luxury branding, and gentrification, whether intentionally or not, it's also argued it reinforces the capitalist values it criticizes. The fake store almost didn't last a single day. On the night of its inauguration, vandals actually wreaked havoc on the place, broke into the store, stole 6 handbags and 14 right-footed shoes, and spray-painted the walls. The place, though, was repaired, its contents replaced, and a security system installed to dissuade would-be vandals in the future. Giant Discovery. The Giant Discovery is a simple spin and swing carnival ride, but way bigger. Although it only seats 40 riders at a time, some can actually seat 50. It's the tallest ride of its kind at 147 feet tall. It swings its riders to a maximum angle of 240 degrees, giving riders both positive and negative G sensations. And while the pendulum swings, the circular gondola keeps on rotating, adding to the thrill of the ride. At peak speeds, riders will be traveling at a maximum speed of 68 miles per hour, and speaking from having ridden the thing itself, swinging down 147 feet at that speed is no walk in the park. And since the gondola keeps on spinning, the experience each rider feels is slightly different to one another. So it's actually a slightly different sensation every time you ride it, which is enough for some people to come back for more. The Temple of Rats. Rat worship in India has been going on since the 15th century, but the Karni Mata temple was only built back in the 1900s, and it's no rat-infested hellhole. Granted, there are rats all over the place, around 30,000 of them give or take, but the temple was constructed with intricate marble panels and solid silver carvings. It was named for the goddess Karni, who believed her family members would never die, but instead would be reincarnated as rats. The town's residents firmly believe in this legend, and that the population of more than 20,000 rats are, in fact, members of Karni the goddess's family. The rats are considered sacred and are provided with food and refuge in the temple. Got a few rodents? It might help you to know that they're said to be quite friendly. Devotees flock to the temple to commune with the rats, presenting them with gifts of milk and grain. Heck, there's even entire families who live in the temple full-time, and is the only reason they're there is to take care of the rats. Kingda Ka. Located at Six Flags Adventure, New Jersey, the Kingda Ka is one of the first accelerator coasters in the US. As soon as it opened in May of 2005, it became the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world. At the time, its state-of-the-art hydraulic launching system accelerated the cars, as well as the riders, to a mind-numbing speed of 128 miles per hour in just 3.5 seconds, then begins a fast and steep climb to the top. Once it reaches the top of the tower, passengers are approximately 456 feet off the ground, stay there for a couple of seconds, and then drop down to 420 feet. Sounds thrilling, but the ride hasn't been without setbacks. Rollback is a constant possibility, and it's when the train car doesn't get enough speed and momentum to climb the top of the tower that the car just rolls back down to its starting point. Funny enough, some riders actually find that more thrilling because they're traveling backwards. As of riding, it's still the tallest ride in the world, but it's since relinquished its title as the fastest to a ride that we'll talk about later. The Instant Ramen Museum. Fans of the channel already know that there are a lot of weird things in Japan, and this is just one of them. Weirdly enough, it flew under our radar until now. Momofuku Ando Instant Ramen Museum pays tribute to cup noodles founder and creator Momofuku Ando. If you'd like to say thanks to all of those super cheap instant noodles that prevented you from starving back in college, this is your chance. Ando started the whole instant noodle craze when he invented the first instant chicken ramen in 1958, after researching on how to make it for an entire year. Since then, Japan and many other parts of the world have become instant noodle crazy. The museum features a reproduction of the shack where the man himself first invented chicken ramen. You can also view an exhibition about instant noodles across the globe and visit a tasting room with a variety of products, including the chance to sample flavors that you've probably never tried before. Giant Canyon Swing. Swings are a playground staple, and everybody loves going up higher and higher on a swing set. But don't be fooled by this ride's name, as it's considered one of America's more extreme rides. The Giant Canyon Swing is located in Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park, and it only takes up to 4 passengers at a time. The idea is simple, but the adrenaline rush from experiencing it yourself is an understatement. It will swing you back and forth like a pendulum at a top speed of 50 miles an hour. People who experience the ride say that their stomachs feel a little more ticklish than normal once they feel the gravity lose its power on them. However, that's not all that makes this ride terrifying. It's the fact that it's perched at the edge of a cliffside above the Colorado River with a height of over 1,300 feet. Steve Beckley, the owner of the park, was absolutely horrified after riding it once, and he never got back on it again. The Grand Canyon Swing is already a little old now, but it's still extensively loved by the media and remains a solid park favorite. Carhenge. Stonehenge is definitely a British thing, but leave it to the Americans to take something British and put their own spin on it. And with that said, I give you Carhenge. Built in a farm in Alliance, Nebraska, it was conceptualized by farmer and engineer Jim Reindeers during a family reunion. It was meant to be a memorial for Reindeers' dad. It's made up of 38 cars rescued from nearby farms and dumps, and Reindeers noted that the monolithic dimensions of cars from the 1950s and the 60s nearly equaled the stones at Stonehenge, and he built this monument with a 96-foot diameter to match the proportions of the original. 3 foreign cars were originally part of Carhenge, but were subsequently dragged away, ritually buried, and replaced by models from Detroit. I guess you can have stuff in Detroit? Oh well, moving on. This monument very nearly didn't survive, though. Alliance residents wanted to tear it down at first, and then the Nebraska Department of Highways wanted to label it a junkyard and erect a big fence around it. But the animosity passed, and now signs on the outskirts of Alliance proudly call it the home of Carhenge. Flying Fury. Want to experience piloting a plane but you can't go to pilot school? Well, hop aboard the Flying Fury and experience the next best thing to actually flying a plane. This is probably one of the most interactive rides you'll ever have the chance to experience. A product of 4 years of research and development, the ride is composed of 2 4-seater planes mounted at the end of 2 rotating arms. These arms then lift the riders 120 feet high. How fast these arms rotate is actually up to the riders, though. The ride has 2 modes, Turbo and Game. In Turbo mode, the arms spin at their top speed of 15 RPM, but the planes stay locked in place, thus no interactivity. In Game mode, though, the arms spin at just 7 RPM, but that unlocks the plane's controls, allowing riders to control the plane's roll at a max of 17 RPM. This feature actually allows riders for a different experience every time you ride it. Plus, the planes are fitted with cameras that broadcast to screens of the waiting area, allowing waiting riders to see what exactly they're in for. Inveraray Jail. Want to do the time but don't want to commit any crime? Well, just hop on a plane to Scotland where you'll experience being incarcerated, but still end up as a free man at the end of the day. Located on the shores of Loch Fyne in Argyll is Inveraray Jail, one of Scotland's top tourist attractions and one of Europe's most complete and best preserved 19th century courtroom and jail complexes. It provides visitors with a fascinating, interactive, and fun journey back in time. This living museum features costume prisoners and jailers who will regale you with the gruesome stories of life at the Inveraray Jail in the 19th century. The tour starts with the horrifically named Torture, Death, and Damnation exhibit, after which you can walk the corridors of the old prison, meet the prisoners, and hear their stories, experience the unbearable tension as sentences were passed in the Grand Courthouse, and experience the new prison. They also offer the full prisoner experience where you can lie in the hammocks and on the wooden beds, as well as get strapped to the whipping table, minus the whipping of course, and find out exactly what happens to a 19th century man when he commits the most mundane of crimes, such as stealing a turnip. Insanity. Insanity the ride is a kind of experience that will really sear Vegas into your brain, mainly in the part where you keep your nightmares. Another ride from the Strat, Las Vegas, this fear-inducing attraction really ticks all the boxes when it comes to an adrenaline rush. You'll feel helpless as you sit at the end of a massive mechanical arm that extends 64 feet over the side of the building while being spun around in open air, catching a glimpse of the Las Vegas streets approximately 1,000 feet below you. Just don't look down doesn't apply here though, because riders basically have no choice but to look down. The seats are actually adjusted to a 70-degree angle, tilting everybody's body to a fixed position where looking up, down, or sideways won't really help you. If you're brave enough to keep your eyes open on the ride, the breathtaking view of downtown Las Vegas is a justifiable reward. The mechanism is also specially programmed to do different kinds of motions, which means that no two rides will ever feel the same. Heck, if you're feeling a little scared, friends might suggest downing a couple of Vegas-style cocktails to build up that courage. Just take note that you aren't allowed to drink while on the ride. Honestly though, I'd think twice about drinking or even drinking anything before hopping aboard the Insanity, because it really does look like a stomach-emptying experience. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's pick is a roller coaster that doesn't only make you feel like flying, but also diving. The Manta. SeaWorld Orlando is known for showcasing various aquatic animals and not for thrilling rides. That is until May of 2009 when they launched the Manta, a flying roller coaster designed not only to give its riders the sensation of flying, but also a literal dive into the water. In fact, the ride's slogan is "Dive deep, fly high." The experience actually begins even before you get on the coaster. The waiting area is actually a one-of-a-kind aquarium exhibit complete with an extravagant ambiance of lights and majestic aquatic sounds. The 360-degree floor-to-ceiling display allows you to see all of the fish and other sea creatures swimming above you. Then onto the roller coaster itself, which is shaped like a giant manta ray. Riders are seated in a prone position, thus giving the sensation of flying, and are then sent flying up as much as 140 feet up in the air. All that while, you're traveling at 56 miles per hour. The 3,359-foot-long track will take you to 4 different inversions, and what makes this ride extremely unique is a feature called the Splashdown. This involves the train dropping to just above a body of water while making a 270-degree right turn. Water jets then spray up to the train, giving the riders the simulated experience of diving into the water. Manta is SeaWorld's largest single investment on any attraction, and judging by the rave reviews of thousands of people that have experienced it firsthand, Manta was definitely a good investment. The Capuchin Catacombs. Now we get to the creepy part of today's video, and there's definitely nothing creepier than thousands of dead monks hanging on the wall. No kidding, in Palermo, Italy, there's actually a place exactly like that, as morbid as it is, and it's one of Palermo's top tourist attractions. The Capuchin Catacombs is a place filled with thousands of mummified bodies. Some are pinned to the walls, others sitting on benches, some stuck inside coffins, and others stuffed in shelves. All in all, there's about 8,000 preserved corpses in this place alone. The bodies, however, aren't just placed at random. The catacombs are divided into sections, each one housing a specific type of person. There's a room for religious figures, mainly those affiliated with the monastery. There's one for professionals, such as doctors, and a room for women, virgins, and infants. The Capuchin monks of Palermo have long discovered that these catacombs have the ideal conditions for natural mummification, and they perfected their process over the years, and they started with the oldest corpse in the catacombs, that being Friar Silvestro de Gubbio, who died in 1599. However, probably the most famous resident of the catacombs is Rosario Lombardo, who died in 1920 when she was only 2 years old. Rosalia was embalmed so perfectly she looks as if she was sleeping, earning herself the nickname of Sleeping Beauty. X Squared. Formerly known as just X, this steel roller coaster located in Six Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California is the world's first fourth-dimension roller coaster and is also the swan song of renowned roller coaster manufacturer Aerodynamics. Its name might imply that this coaster has the ability to break time and space while crashing into the fourth dimension, but it's actually far less complicated than that. The unique train car seats move 360 degrees forward and in reverse, completely independent from the main train car itself. This gives anyone riding it the constant feeling of always falling off the train car. So it doesn't matter if you're going up, twisting, or dropping down, the seat's always going to be changing direction and it won't be the same exact experience every time you ride it. In 2007, the ride closed for renovations to become the ride that we know of today. It was repainted and given new special effects and features like a sound system that plays different audio tracks on the seat depending on where you are on the ride. And it even sports a pair of flamethrowers that greet you on the ride going upward. Singed hair and first-degree burns be damned, this looks like a sweet ride. Wang Sok Hell Garden. This place is quite literally hell on earth. Wang Sok Hell Garden, which I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing, gives people a taste of a Buddhist hell. This is all in the hopes that people who visit it renounce their evil ways in order to avoid the real hell that awaits the wicked after death. This temple garden is filled with grotesque statues depicting the tortures you can expect to endure in hell if you commit various sins in life, which doesn't sound like a good place to visit. But still, thousands of people visit the place yearly. As soon as you enter the garden, you're greeted by two giant emaciated figures with protruding stomachs and long tongues. They are the Prayat, or the hungry ghost souls burning with eternal and insatiable hunger. These are but two of the many horrors the garden has in store for visitors. Strewn all over the place are other statues depicting a variety of tortures that sinners can look forward to in the afterlife. They also have very helpful guides besides each torture scene, which is a plaque explaining what sins would lead to such a punishment. This place gives being scared straight a whole different meaning.
Before we move on, I've got a little challenge for you that'll take 5 seconds to complete. So here's the deal. You just leave a like on this video, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, and you will get 25 years of amazing
Formula Rossa. Strap yourselves in, boys and girls, because we're ending this video with what currently is the fastest roller coaster in the world. Formula Rossa, located in Inveraray Jail in Dubai, launches its riders from 0 to 240 kilometers per hour in just 4.9 seconds. Then it climbs up 52 meters high, subjecting riders to a surge of 4.8 Gs in the process, before barreling down at a slower but still breakneck speed, all the while twisting and turning in various directions. The entire ride only lasts about a minute, but the exhilaration that you'd feel would probably last you for days on end. The makers of the ride sought to give riders the sensation of driving a Formula 1 car, and ask any person who's experienced Formula Rossa, they'll say that the objective was easily achieved. See you all next time!